right. So our final speaker of the night, when traveling alone, sleeps with the hotel TV on all night, and he's not sure why he does that. Hello, everyone. The ending of Armageddon makes him tear up every single time. And he throws the dirtiest split finger knuckleball in the GTA. Everyone, please help me welcome Raymond Wali.
Thank you very much, Marsha, for that introduction. Just as Sharon's husband, you sound like a great guy. Are you available for hire? Because I will be willing to invest in salty chips if that's what it takes to have you on my team. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I am going to present to you clear and compelling evidence that this guy standing before you is the biggest fuck up, if not ever, tonight for sure. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background. I have been an entrepreneur for 17 years. Carwraps.ca was my first business, which was acquired a few years ago. Mango Moose Media is an experiential marketing, guerrilla marketing agency. And The World is Global is where I currently reside, and that is a venture creation company, meaning we start and invest in companies. The story I'm going to tell you is about the guerrilla marketing side of the business. And I feel it's pretty epic. It's something that I've kept inside for the last maybe 9 years, until Marsha created this forum where you could kind of out your fuck-ups and be okay with it. Exhibit 1, the creative brief. So we got the call from a pretty big agency for a pretty big global retailer. We'll call them MyKia to avoid using names and avoid potential lawsuits. So we got the call to create a guerrilla marketing campaign. The concept behind it was they wanted an edgy kind of feel. They wanted to be in the streets. They wanted to kind of get some word of mouth and buzz going. Well, this is what we do. We are experientialmarketing.ca. Like, we own that. Guerrillamarketing.ca, that's us. Yeah, we're on board. Let's do it. So the concept was we were going to graffiti cities across Canada, markets across Canada, with this sidewalk stencil. And it would go kind of on the sidewalks, on the side of abandoned buildings, and this was kind of the creative. Not kind of the creative, this was the creative. Great, this is our business, this is what we're in, we're on board. So we were using spray chalk, not real paint, first of all, so it was supposed to wash off fairly easily. Well, you'll see, not so easy. But we were excited to kind of get our campaign. It was a big deal. I apologize for the image. It's blurry as fuck, but I didn't have the capacity or wherewithal to take better pictures at the time. But as you can see, if you go back, that's it. We executed sidewalks. So the execution is on point. Our project managers fly out to each city. We hire guerrilla marketing ninjas to go out in the night. We are the Banksy of the guerrilla marketing world. We own that shit. We put up 300, we come back. We are excited. We nailed it. We are happy. Client is happy. I think we went overboard. We promised X amount. We did maybe 30% more. Value add for the customer, we thought, for the client. And yeah, so everything goes okay until this happens. So yeah, that's CBC, and that's somebody complaining on the news. So this is okay. The client expected some pushback, some negativity. We're not hating each other at this point. They call us in. It's like, Ray, we got to clean this up. Fine. People get back on a plane. They're flying over to Vancouver. This was Vancouver. Scrub bucket and brush in hand, clean it up. It'll be okay, it'll go away. The campaign will run, it'll wash away. Everybody will be happy, we'll get paid, life goes on. Guerrillamarketing.ca. Then this shit happens. So thank God this wasn't like Facebook viral media wasn't that, 10 years ago wasn't as common. But nonetheless, the Star picks it up, CBC syndicates that shit across the interwebs. The Globe and Mail gets on board. Howard Moscow, I don't know if you can see this, you can't see right there. He gets on board, calls it vandalism. So now we've committed crimes against humanity, and shit is not good. It's on the so this is print and online. It's on the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock news. It is everywhere. Things get bad at the office. People start calling us, leaving nasty voicemails. So much so that I just tell everybody, nobody's answering the phones. Unplug your shit. Go get a scrub bucket and a brush. We're going. So the client calls us in, and it's getting less cordial. So we go into full firefighter mode. Fine. All hands on deck. We got to clean this shit up as quick as possible. Erase it. Get rid of it out of our lives. Fine. We are, bucket in hand. We literally have a bucket on one hip, a brush on the other, going through. And we do our best to clean it up. And we do a decent job, but we were a bit overzealous. Our guerrilla marketing ninjas that we hired were a bit overzealous, and we didn't mark down everywhere we put one of these bad boys. So it was hard for us to report to the client that, hey, this is all cleaned up, all is good. So then this happens. It feels at times, that's an actual picture of me trying to wash out a side, yeah. That's how I felt, at least inside. It felt at times we were trying to put out a forest fire with a garden hose. Things were not going well. I am mortified. At one point, I am downtown Toronto, King Street, with a bucket and scrub brush on hand, looking equally scrubby, and one of my exes walks by and is like, we exchanged some words, and I'm pretty sure she's like, God, I'm glad I dodged that bullet. Because Ray's not looking too well. He doesn't look like he's gonna make it. Yeah, funny, that's nice. And my team is exhausted. They're literally flying back from Vancouver, getting it at 9 a.m. I'm getting a call that there's a fire situation that we have to go back, and they're getting back on a flight. They're back to Vancouver, to get there in the night and scrub out the, sidewalk graffiti stencils. So I think Sharon covered the roller coaster of entrepreneurship. This is kind of it. At this point, I'm off the fucking map right down here, where I was wrong and I'm fucked. But we have two choices. One is I could crawl in into the fetal position and cry, which I did, so I took that option as well. And two was to push through. And, I forgot to mention before, I'm about $100,000 out of pocket now. When you factor in flights, we're hiring contractor, Goodbye Graffiti, to clean up things that we can't get to. I was newly married and had just bought a house. And then I'm pretty sure my wife at that point was questioning her decisions. She's still around, guys, thanks. But we push through it, and we eventually get it all cleaned up, or we kind of it washes away, and we have kind of a second to lick our wounds, and we go on to after this to have the best year of my career, I guess, with that business. The year after, we're signing some pretty big clients, so it wasn't all terrible. But it did take a long time, and there were points where I was like, "Fuck, am I doing? I should just go get a job." Thankfully, it didn't. So that leads me to where I am today, which is the world is global, and I have made a career of eating fuck-ups for dinner now. It's what I call a venture creation agency. We start companies, we invest in companies, we fail. If it's fixable, we fix it. If we don't, we say fuck it and move on. It's where my passion lies. I love to create. Sharon spoke about ADD and entrepreneurialism. I'm sure I sit somewhere on that spectrum. But it is where my passion lies, and it's where I'm happy to be today. So there is a little bit of a good story. Mind you, that's one of my fuck-ups. In over 17 years, I have many, many, many screw-ups. So I think that's one of the lessons today. Whoops. So I'm going to leave you guys with 2 takeaways. One, regret is growth, meaning if you don't regret anything, I mean, in personal and business life, for me personally. I mean, if I look back at, the boy I was at 21 and the man I feel I am now, I have a lot of regret. Personal and business life, regret is growth. And if you're not regretting, you're not taking enough risk and challenges. And what was my second one? Do you remember? Celebrate the wins. There we go. Got it. I'm asking Marsha if she memorized my slide. Celebrate the wins. And I mean, there's been a lot of emphasis on fuck up and failures, but I guarantee you between them, there is some success. And that doesn't mean $1 million check, but there's a lot of micro successes that, entrepreneurs sometimes just skim over. Oh, that campaign went well, they're not worried about it, because we're so focused on fixing things and being firefighters, and sometimes that negativity can build up. And if you really look back at it and celebrate the wins, or whatever your rituals are, I still, when a client mails a check, I personally go and take that, and I go to the teller, and I deposit it, and the teller's like, well, you could deposit that in the bank machine. I'm like, I know I could do that, but I want you to do it. I want to have this interaction because I'm celebrating a win. And I think that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. That was amazing. I think you lived up to our expectations of the, the most dramatic fuck up of the night. So we're going to jump into the questions now for Raymond. Who wants to kick it off? Right there.
Dude, thank you very much for that story. You totally made my day. My question to ask you is, how long does it take to scrub up one of those wonderful slimes you created?
Oh, man. You're going to make me go in a dark place. Each one was different. So it's not like you go and scrub it up, because the sidewalk is porous. I feel like I'm an expert. You see what happens is the sidewalk is porous, and there's certain solutions you have to use. And then when you clean it up, so you have to get in there with a scrub brush and kind of get in there. And even when you clean it up, there's still some kind of remnants of it. And then sometimes we're getting in shit for that. At one point, we painted an ad on a graffiti building. This building looked like it should be condemned. And we got into shit for that. We could, at one point, we could do no right. So we just had to eat it.
Hey, Ray.
Hey.
So it sounds like you took a big risk here, and you did everything right, but the ad campaign fucked up. And now you're investing in companies. What do you do? How do you evaluate the risk now? How does this relate to your experience now?
I think we eat fuck ups for dinner. Inherently, if you're going to be in business for self, there is risk. And, I have a business coach says, if you don't like it, get a job. And so I don't want to get a job, so I'm going to eat risk for dinner. I read Branson, I think it was, or one book I said is, you try to look at the downside and hedge against it. Doesn't mean you eliminate the downside, you try to look at the worst case scenario. If you're losing money or XYZ can go wrong, you try to hedge against it. So you try to think ahead of it. And I think looking back at this campaign, we should have put some after this, we put contingency planning in and had clients sign off on shit. But, we were excited. There was tight timelines, big client, let's do it, and looking back and after this, we kind of implemented some procedures as far as getting contingencies, indemnity waivers, getting and emailing that shit, because when shit hits the fan, everybody forgets everything. Phone calls don't matter. So I get that in writing, I put it in an email, CYA as much as you can. Risk is inherent to the job, though. Sure.
Hi there.
Hello.
I remember that ad campaign. I thought it was fabulous. So
Yeah,
don't feel too bad.
See, that missus thought it was great, too. She's like, Ray, this is great. This guerrilla marketing, PR. I was waiting for CNN to call me. I was like, I was going to die. It was not good. But.
So speaking of CNN, what is your take on the concept of there's no such thing as bad press? because I remember that ad and I thought it was great. And so did it ever come back and help you with people who
I think
remembered it?
I think eventually it did. Maybe it got our name out there in the advertising world. At the time, it's so hard to see the next hour, 2 hours. We were literally going on 2 hours sleep for 3-4 weeks. It was rough. There is such thing as negative PR, especially in this day and age. So I think that's an old kind of theory. If you look at Starbucks and their situation that they had a couple days ago, I feel customer service issues can become really big shit storms. And I feel I'm lucky because I've had this happen back then, and people had taken interest in it. It could have been a lot worse because it's a lot easier to spread the news now. So I believe there's such thing as negative PR that could damage your brand and affect your bottom line. That's for sure.
So, thank you for that. But so my question is around the idea of like trust. So as an entrepreneur, you had your wife, or you have your wife at the time, and right now.
Yeah. Unless you know something I don't, but.
So them, her, your team, clients. So, and as an entrepreneur, I think it's a matter of trust, right? At that point, like you're trying to build yourself up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How did you regain your trust? How did you regain their trust? How did you build trust with these people? I don't know if people left, the people that were back and forth from Vancouver, got no sleep, how do you make it up to them? Or how do you go, don't worry, like next time we've learned, that sort of stuff.
Well, I think definitely in the midst of it, we had to have all hands on deck and say, look, guys, I appreciate, in the height of it all, we had to say, you know what, I appreciate that. I understand that we're going hard 24 hours a day. At the end of the day, the buck stops with me, and I will eat all of this. Go hard, get paid. I had a great team. They kind of invested. They were all in. So that them quitting was never an option. It was an option, but it just wasn't the type of team they were. The client relationship was ruined because at that stage you're trying to blame somebody, and we put them up. It wasn't my creative. If it was my strategy, then fine. Maybe I could have taken all of the blame. I think we screwed up as far as execution goes and not tracking exactly all the locations. But it's trust takes time. You know what I mean? So we invested in some marketing and materials after that, and we had a great year, and things were a lot easier. And we took the learnings from this campaign, and
So the team that you have, you think you guys are good now?
Nobody from that team is still around. They've moved on just naturally through attrition. But yeah, I still call them and work with them all the time.
Cool, thanks.
Hey, great presentation, Ray. I loved it. Working in social media, I find that if there's any sort of problems at all, people, especially the clients, immediately panic if something's going wrong, because the social media and the social part of their brain is attached to the survival part of their brain. So they literally feel like they're gonna die if something goes wrong with it.
Yeah, that's an ad world problem. Everything is.
Yeah.
It's like we're not doctors. Nobody's gonna die.
Yeah, and exactly. So my question to you was, in that moment of panic, when things are, at a very high level of pressure, and you have to address a situation that sometimes may seem even unfixable, what's your first step? What is the thought process that you go through, and when you're trying to approach it for the first time, what's the first thing you think about and focus on?
I think the best thing to do is take a step back. To be honest, I didn't do a good job of it when this was going on. I internalized it. I stopped communicating. I just wanted to get through it. Let's clean it up, get back to business. But I think now the best thing to do is take a step back, get all the stakeholders around the table, communicate, have those conversations, being, hey, we're trying to clean up as quickly as possible. This is what we're doing, X, Y, and Z. How can you help us? You know what I mean? We're both getting shit. Your brand is falling off, the charts. How can we do this together? And then when this dust settles, then we could yell at each other, and then we could figure out who owes what, and what the damage is. But if we don't do that, I could have been a better communicator and I should have took hold of the situation. But I was a lot younger and maybe not as wise, maybe still not very wise, but Yes.
Thanks a lot for sharing your story with us today. It was really cool.
Awesome.
So I just wanted to ask, it's a bit of a more practical question. When you started your experiential marketing company, how did you manage to get Ikea out of the gate? Like, how did you manage to get them as a client?
So that wasn't out of the gate. That company was, we're probably 6 or 7 years old when we got. We kind of worked with big brands because we worked with their agencies. That wasn't the only one, but we were excited because it was the first time we were working with them, and it was a high dollar volume campaign. It was guerrilla marketing. You can't get more guerrilla than that. It was kind of why I started the company. It was exciting, So we kind of pushed our way through the marketing advertising agency world. This is what we're known for, is doing this crazy shit.
All right, thank you.
Sorry.
Last one.
Last question is very simple. So it's about the main climax of your presentation. So the main fuck up, in my opinion. My question for you is, how did you lose track of the locations of your guerrilla marketing?
So, as you can imagine, we didn't plot exact locations. So each PM had a team, I can't even remember, of 6 to 8 people. Their job was to put up 10 stencils in each market, so you had 80. So they kind of deployed them with rough maps and rough areas. But if you put up an ad, let's say at Spadina and Adelaide, there's 4 corners there. If you put up 3, some of them were on the side of a building. Some of them weren't as easy to spot. And then they went out and we kind of did some extra. They did some extracurricular activities. They were really into it.
They just multiplied from there then.
They took it on. The people who signed up to do this gig, they were they were fans of Banksy and stuff like that. It was good, but so we just lost track of it. That was probably one we should have put down exact pictures and locations. That was our bad. We should have dictated a little better how to track it. That's all. Thank you very much, guys.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Raymond. Thank you. So before we get into the pitches, while I have